Charlie Parsons, Fight Hub TV. Delighted to be joined here yet again with Mr. Eddie Hearn in, I nearly said Vegas. We're certainly not in Vegas. Hey. Jeddah. Eddie, how are we, mate?
Doing very well, Parsons. We're here in the Saudi Airlines gym, here for the public workout. AJ Usyk, once again, you're going to see them do very little in the ring here, because that's what generally happens at this level, and everyone's going to debate the size of them, the legs, how they hit the pads or how they juggle the balls, and ready to go. Quite unusual coming out so early. Of course, we started on Monday, but big fight and lots of media activity ahead.
I want to ask you, obviously I think Sunday night you announced it would be on about 190 territories on DAZN. I spoke to you yesterday, I said, look, with the lack of notice on Sky being the pay-per-view broadcaster in the UK, do you believe that with only 7 days notice on the announcement of DAZN being the broadcaster for the rest of the world, will that affect your figures at all?
The DAZN? It's never ideal. I mean, you'd always want 6, 7, 8 weeks to be part of an announcement. I mean, I think Sky's announcement was, what, 3 weeks ago? It's very, very late in the day, but we're here, and it doesn't take a lot to let people know that a fight's on. It's not like people don't know. You've got to let them know where to find it, and obviously there's a lot of key markets for the DAZN to win in terms of this fight. US being the predominant one, Poland, Australia, New Zealand, Mexico, and all the other territories around the world. So it was a big moment for them to land this fight on 190 different territories.
Of course, right, I want to speak to you. I know there's a lot of he said, back and forth with yourself and Johnny Nelson. I interviewed him. I didn't get to speak to him yesterday. I spoke to him today. I asked him about the average southpaw comments, because I was never been able to pick up on those before. He told me that he would have beaten Usyk in his day. He said that there's no beef with you, but obviously the company man thing, he said he was a company man for you, and now he's...
No, listen, Johnny admitted he's a company man. He's a company man. He used to be a company man for us. I mean, he famously said a few corkers, particularly, and we love James Tennyson, that James Tennyson would have beaten Tank, and to say that Usyk's an average southpaw, strange, and to say that AJ should retire if he loses to the pound for pound number one, strange. But sometimes when you're in the role for a company, you say things. He's probably emotionally invested in that position as well. I have no beef with Johnny at all, known him years, he's a good guy. I was asked about his comments, and that's my honest opinion, and I'll always give you honesty. In terms of him beating Olexandr Usyk and him being an average southpaw, Johnny was a really good fighter. I remember going to Germany as a kid to watch Johnny Nelson stop Marcus Bott in the last round to win the European title. It was nearly a riot, and I was like hiding somewhere in the arena. He was never a pound for pound great fighter, but he was a very, very good fighter. He was never on the levels of Olexandr Usyk, but you could never say he wouldn't have been competitive, because he was a very good cruiserweight. But talk about special talent in Olexandr Usyk. But every fighter, it's not about Johnny Nelson, every fighter believes they could have beaten. If you ask Carl Froch if he could have beaten Joe Calzaghe, 100% would have knocked him out. And they should always believe in themselves when they're fighting, and that carries on as they've left the game.
Of course, and then we will see Usyk and Joshua work out, like you say, probably not doing too much. A lot has been said about Usyk's physique in the build-up. Saw him yesterday, he doesn't look massive. Alex Krasuk said he's not going to come in too much over what he came in last time. Do you expect that? I mean, obviously in boxing we see a lot gets analysed of the little video.
I saw the pictures from the promo shoots yesterday. I think he looks thicker. Not fleshy, but certainly more fleshy than I think he did for the first fight. They're talking about him coming in at 108. I don't know what he came in the first fight. Less.
108?
108.
kg?
Yeah, not pounds, Parsons said. And I think that he'll be 5 or 6 kilos heavier maybe. And don't forget though, he is coming into that heavyweight division. So he's and AJ said he'll come in at 110, so I wouldn't take too much away from it, but it's another debating point, isn't it? during fight week.
Just on sort of the UK for DAZN, we've seen that, well, I suppose first things first, Frank Warren and Team Queensberry won the purse bids for Joshua Buatsi and Callum Johnson for the EBU.
That was never really a purse bid because we never looked at that fight and we didn't turn up and we didn't bid for it. So, yeah, we are with Joshua Buatsi. There's 2 fights that we're committed to making. One is Dimitri Bivol, which may not be possible because of the WBA situation, even though we're very close to confirming that fight. And then the other one is Joshua Buatsi against John Pascal, which is an IBF final eliminator, which puts him in a mandatory position for Beterbiev on 65-35. So we don't rule out the fight with Callum Johnson, but at the same time, you know, we've been working on a number of big fights and they're the ones we want to take.
Your reaction to Frank's comments, sort of saying that, look, that you're pulling out of that fight, that you don't want it. That he said that you don't want anything to do with the Johnson fight.
Yeah, we don't because we never bid for it. But it's not a bit like we're working on much bigger fights for Joshua Buatsi. Look, he's offered Anthony Yard £1 million to fight Joshua Buatsi. Like, and you know, he hasn't boxed for 6 or 7 months. Everyone's got their own plans. Everyone knows we're trying to make Buatsi against Bivol, and that we've also accepted the position with the IBF for Jean Pascal. So I think Callum Johnson fight's a good fight, but the European title's not really. If we wanted to make that fight, we'd just make an offer.
When can we wait on announcements on the UK schedule?
I want to say tomorrow, but I'll give myself enough time to say Friday at the latest. September 24th is on. Got a little bit of a pulled a rabbit out of the hat for one of the fights on that card. It's a really interesting card. It's going to be on September 24th. Obviously October 8th you've got Conor Benn against Chris Eubank. We're going to go again October 29th in the UK. November 5th is going to be a huge show with a lot of big UK fighters. I think November 22nd or 29th as well in the UK, and then a final show in the UK on December the 10th, I believe.
Anything with Dereck Chisora?
Yeah, I mean, he's here. I spent a nice little 20 minutes in the steam with him today, talking about life, which is always good fun. He's ready. You know, he's ready to try and land that big fight, whoever that may be.
Obviously, we know that the Tyson Fury fight probably won't happen, whatever's going on there. What sort of names can we get for Chisora? Because he sort of fought everyone now.
He wants to fight Wilder. You know, I still like Areola.
Would you put him in Wilder? Because obviously, in with Wilder, because that got a lot of criticism.
The deal was right, and he wanted to fight Deontay Wilder. It doesn't matter whether I do it or not. It don't matter. He could do it without me. You know, but he can beat Deontay Wilder. But he could also get sensationally knocked out, and he'd be the underdog going into that fight. But he wants a big fight. He just beat Kubrat Pulev, who's a top 15 heavyweight. So, you know, look, I'll give you an example. Deontay Wilder is going to fight Robert Helenius. Dereck Chisora beat Robert Helenius with ease. Right? Didn't get the decision. Watch the fight. Like, so therefore, why shouldn't he fight Wilder if Helenius is? Doesn't matter. I don't think he will anyway. Just
finally, your reaction to obviously when you mentioned that. When you mentioned the Wilder fight originally, a lot of people said, why are you trying to get your fighter killed? You say now that you still would put Dereck in that fight.
Win the fight. He's just beaten Pulev. That's what I'm saying.
You believe that Dereck Chisora can beat Deontay Wilder?
I think he's a big underdog in the fight, and I think he may also get knocked out in the fight. If he gets past 5 or 6 rounds with Deontay Wilder, he's banging that fight. He might not get through 5 or 6 rounds with Deontay Wilder, but he's fighting. You know, you're missing my point. Deontay Wilder is fighting Robert Helenius. Robert Helenius got beat by Dereck Chisora. Dereck Chisora just beat Kubrat Pulev. Go on, Parsons.
Dancing not for me, I'll leave it to you. Eddie, thank you very much for your time.